Okay, I want to talk about some villains. I recently just watched the new Planet of the Apes trilogy, and Dawn of the Planet of the Apes really surprised me, not only because it was my favorite of the three, but because it has one of the best villains that I've seen in modern cinema, in Koba. Koba is a great villain, and I got this idea because I want to talk about some horror villains, I want to talk about some other movie villains, and, my favorite character of all time, who is also a villain. But why every great movie needs a great villain. Because here's the thing, you can't have a great movie and not have a great villain. That's part of the fun of it. I mean, look at all of the critically acclaimed movies over the years. Movies like The Dark Knight. I mean, the Joker in that movie is so good, played by Heath Ledger perfectly, and he steals the show from Christian Bale's Batman. And then you look at a movie like The Dark Knight Rises, where Tom Hardy played Bane. I don't think he did a bad job, but it wasn't nearly as groundbreaking or as satisfying as what we got with Heath Ledger's Joker. It's one of the reasons why the movie just hasn't been perceived well from critics and fans alike. I don't want to talk about some good villains. I want to talk about some great villains that have inspired other films throughout all of history. So the first villain that I want to talk about is Koba, since I did mention Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Koba is such a great villain because he is the adversary to Caesar, one of the best modern characters of the last decade. Caesar's story, we followed his journey from the time when he was just a small baby ape to the time when he became a full adult ape. And that's kind of the journey that we saw with Caesar. I mean, we got 3 films with Caesar, and Koba was a character that we actually met in Rise, who was tested on by humans, and for that reason, he wanted to seek revenge for what they did to him. And I understand that. I get that, actually. That's what makes him a really compelling villain. He went about it the wrong way completely, and obviously he was against the character that we were rooting for, Caesar, but he does something that's so unique where you have 2 of the same species that are supposed to be all for that group of species, but you kind of realize that Koba isn't really just about the group, he's just about himself. And that's one of the best things about villains, is that a lot of what they want to do and what they want to accomplish is for their own self-gratification. Another great villain in the past has got to be Thanos. Thanos in the MCU. I mean, we got to see him in Infinity War and Endgame, but here's the thing. There was 20 some odd movies that built him up to what we ended up getting with him, but I think Thanos was so good in the fact that he was so mysterious, and he actually, out of all the villains that I'm going to list, his plan actually was justified. It was actually true. I mean, his whole idea was there's so limited resources for the galaxy, and it's because of overpopulation. It's true. I mean, it was overpopulated. He went about it the complete wrong way. Those are the things that you love about villains, is that even when you know that they're going the wrong direction and you don't want to root for them, you also can understand their point of view and how, yeah, they might be right. I mean, this needs to change, but there's better options out there. You just have to kind of present them, I guess. And that's kind of the thing about Thanos, is Thanos needed to correct the universe when in reality, did he really? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see when more MCU movies come out, because it's going to be kind of fascinating. Another great villain is, like I said, Heath Ledger's Joker. I mean, some people just want to watch the world burn, and that's really what he wanted to do. He wanted to watch the world burn, and to me, he's one of the best villains of all time because of how iconic he is. Also, number 2, because a lot of his points were kind of valid. I mean, he had a crappy life, and realistically, he was all about power. He was all about, notoriety, and having the Batman come after you, that's kind of a fun little game to have, right? But the Joker has been such a great villain throughout history in terms of comic books, films, television, because of just how iconic the character is, and also because of how, in a way, the crime prince of darkness really is justified for a lot of his reasoning. But again, the thing that we love about villains is that they are detached a little bit from reality, and they can only see kind of the one road and the one avenue without looking at different avenues that might be safer and better for everyone else around them. And I gotta talk about my favorite villain of all time, my favorite character of all time, the one and the only, Darth Vader. the Sith Lord himself. Darth Vader, to me, is what every villain for any movie should ever strive to be. Darth Vader is iconic. He is a symbol in terms of, like, if you see that mask, or like even the shape of that mask, you know exactly who it is. And not only that, Darth Vader had some real, true faults. And that's the thing. A lot of villains, we kind of see them as, yeah, they have faults because of their ideology, but in terms of their makeup and who they are, there's not a lot of villains out there that we could really kind of say have faults. We just don't like them because we're not supposed to like them. But Vader has faults. You know, he was deceived by his emotion, whether that be in the prequel trilogy with Padme and with his relationship with her and him, you know, taking on the responsibilities of potentially becoming a father, and also taking on the responsibilities that the Jedi Council gave him, even though they had no respect for him. You can understand that. But also in the original trilogy, where he's so conflicted, again, because of his emotion, where he doesn't want to allow Luke to escape. He doesn't want to take out Luke. He knows just how important his son is to the entire grand scheme of the story, and all he wanted was love. That's really what it comes down to with Vader and Anakin Skywalker, is he just wanted love. Vader had a very rough upbringing because of the fact that he was the chosen one, and there was a lot of pressure on him. So I think Vader, to me, is just the gold standard of what you want villains to be when you're making a film or when you're going about writing a villain for even a story. And then the last couple that I want to talk about real quickly are just going to be some horror villains that I really have appreciated over the years and how they have really helped their franchises. Number one, of course, my second favorite character of all time, Michael Myers in Halloween. I mean, without Michael, Halloween would be dead. And it was. I mean, they tried rebranding the franchise with Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, which I actually kind of like. I'm not going to lie, I like that movie. But there's no Michael in it. It's a very different movie, and it didn't work. Because when you hear the word Halloween, you instantly think of Michael Myers and Candy. But Michael Myers truly embodies pure evil. I mean, there is no intention. There is no motive. He's just pure evil. And that's one of the best characteristics that he has. And a lot of villains wouldn't be able to pull that off. But because of how much mystery and how much lore there is to the character of Michael Myers, it works in strides for his character and for the Halloween franchise. The next one is got to be Jason Voorhees. I got to mention the big three. I mean, Jason Voorhees, Freddy Krueger, I'll mention both of them. Freddy, to me, kind of is weird because the first two movies, he's very scary, but then after that kind of hams it up a little bit. And so he's kind of, in a way, a lovable villain just because he's kind of a goofball and he does things maybe against the grain like ordinary villains would do. But he has a lot of personality, which is something that Michael Myers and Jason kind of lack because they don't really have that personality. They don't talk. So having him be able to talk, having him be able to be kind of a voice of reason, that to me in itself is enough to make him a really great villain and a standout. Jason Voorhees, I think he's definitely lower in terms of villains for me because of how many different Jason incarnations we've had over the many films in the franchise. There's 12 of them, so we've had a lot of different Jasons, and one of them that didn't even have Jason, two of them that didn't even have Jason at all. So, but Jason Voorhees is a very interesting villain because the prowess of Jason makes him such an interesting and fascinating character. The fact that he doesn't talk, the fact that it feels like if you were in a battle with Jason Voorhees, you'd lose no matter what. It doesn't matter the situation. It doesn't matter what you bring to the table. He will beat you. And that's what a villain should be. I mean, villains should be that antithesis, right? They should be that opposing force that is hard to knock down. And Jason is very hard to knock down, unless you're talking Friday the 13th Part 2. Then he's pretty easy. But I'm talking like Part 3, Jason and beyond. I mean, he is a very, very tough character to take down. We've had some great heroines in the past and also heroes, but like Tommy Jarvis. But the thing is at the end of the day, the character of Jason embodies really what a villain should be, which is strong in stature and very, very scary. Like, I would not want to cross paths with any of these three, but definitely not Jason. And the last villain that I'm going to talk about is one that to me also kind of defies the horror genre and defies especially its franchise. And that's going to be Pinhead from Hellraiser. And the reason why I'm bringing Pinhead up is because there are so many Hellraiser movies that don't even have anything to do with Hellraiser. They are like detective cop movies. They bring in Pinhead for like 10 minutes and then they plaster the name Hellraiser on the movie. It's a real thing. It's happened a lot and it's happened over and over again. And so Pinhead, I have to put him on here. I mean, he is a super villain in this way because he doesn't even have to be a part of the plot of the film, and yet he makes an impact. You look forward to him making an impact because the movies suck. So yeah, that's kind of it. I wanted to talk about some villains. I'm happy that you enjoyed this video. And if you did, let me know some of the villains that I missed out on this video. I wasn't able to mention all of them, but I want to know your guys' thoughts down below in the comments section. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys in my next video. Bye.